Good evening, everyone, and this is September 25th on a Tuesday, and it is the regular meeting of the Board of Selectmen.
And just to state, Mrs. Smith, that we're returning from executive session in accordance with Massachusetts General Law, Chapter 38, Section 21, with nothing to report at this time.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. This is our regular meeting, and just to remind everyone that we are on cable. Now, we please stand and pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much. Let's see.
And I'd like to make a motion that we accept the minutes of September 18th as presented.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Let's see. Chief Donovan, you have a report to give?
Good evening.
Good evening.
It's been a little while due to summer vacations, etc. So since July 10th, the police department has logged 3,612 incidents, and we've booked 125. The 911 call center in that time frame took in 753 calls. There were 3 non-fatal overdoses and 1 fatal overdose. This year, we really expanded our involvement with the schools with ALICE training, in the school system help pay for police officers to get trained. ALICE is an acronym. It's one of the acronyms regarding the active shooter, active attacker stuff in the schools. So this year we trained, I think it was 6 or 7 police officers, whereas before it was like 1 or 2, to work more in depth with the teachers and staff prior to the beginning of the school year. On September 11th, we had a case that went to the Superior Court, which was a significant case that was from February of 2017. But the offender in that case, this I think was his 3rd or 4th felony rape conviction. This was an incident that started in Brockton, ended up at one of our Walmarts. Our citizens of Rainham intervened with a woman who was in distress, and that caused the person to flee. Our police officers chased them down. Then we were able to gather enough evidence so that this person was sentenced to 30 years in prison. That's excellent work by our police, but also our community, who recognized that something was wrong. September 8th, on the police department, as you know, we always remember Mary Lou Arruda. This was the 40th anniversary of her kidnapping and murder. The gas issue up in Lawrence, North Andover, and Andover, we did respond to that after 2 or 3 days, 4 days. The resources in that region had been exhausted, and the state reached out for additional help. So Rainham police officers deployed to Lawrence and North Andover and Andover and assisted with that issue. And also, one thing I wanted to tell the board and the town about, Sergeant Barbour is here tonight. I was asked him to come if he could speak to you. We're participating in the Pink Patch Project, PPP. So Sergeant Barbour can explain better. With that.
Good evening. The Pink Patch Project, yes. It's a collaborative effort through a bunch of agencies. It initiated first in Los Angeles. Now there's about 110 agencies participating within this project, and it's designed to raise awareness for breast cancer awareness. It's to stimulate the conversation, so officers will be wearing a pink version of our department patch, and it's based on our interactions when we talk to people. It's to stimulate that conversation, to have people to think about it, and bring awareness to the breast cancer awareness, initiative that's going on. By doing that, we also have a fundraiser set up where we're selling a version of our patches, that pink patch, to the public. We sell the patches for $10 each, and all the proceeds will get donated at that point towards the end of the month to the Breast Cancer Research Foundation. We decided to use that particular foundation, that cancer research program because they were the highest rated breast cancer research program across the nation. They do 90% of their funds generated gets redonated back into or reapplied into the research itself. So starting October 1st, members of the department will be wearing pink versions of the patch. And again, it's to start that conversation with the general public as we talk to people and see them across the days.
You're going to sell patches.
We will as well, yes.
Who and where?
You can get them through the police department, through the dispatch, or through myself. Face-to-face contact, hand-to-hand, if you will. They're $10. If I have to mail them, unfortunately, because of the packaging, it increases the cost to $13.
Okay. Any questions? Pat, do you have any questions?
We'll be providing additional information. We put a little something out on social media, but we'll be putting out an actual presser. And there's also a way for folks to donate directly without having to purchase the patch.
Correct.
Very good. I'm sure that everybody will cooperate.
Thank you. Thank you.
That's all I have this month.
Any questions for the chief?
No, just thank you, Chief, to you and members of your department for keeping us all safe.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
We have no appointments tonight. No public hearings. Any citizen input? We've changed our agenda a little bit here. No?
As far as, I have a question.
Please come to the microphone and give me your question.
Hello, everybody. My name is Dan Pitta. I live at 123 Baker Road. That's right down the street from the North Rainham Water District.
Yes.
And I have a problem with the runoff of the road tearing apart my front yard. It's an old house built in the 1930s. And over the years, I guess when the road was designed, there's no storm drains or anything on that road. As the water comes down the hill, it just washes right into my front yard. It's actually pitched that way, the road. And I've gone to the highway department probably a half a dozen times or so and either have not been able to find anybody there or haven't got anywhere. When I've spoken to people, nobody comes down to take a look at it or do anything. Just frustrating. It used to be all woods and I don't know if anybody's familiar with it. It's a yellow cape that's right on the corner. Baker Road is like a U-shaped road. And I did the whole house over. I took it from, when I bought it, it was listed as the cheapest house in Rainham.
I remember that. Yeah, I remember the house. It's
Yeah,
the
it
first
was-
one in on the left, isn't it? As you
It's-
come
it's
in
on
that
the-
second
If you're
ex-
coming down from the water department, it's on the right,
Yes,
right at the,
at
yeah.
the end. Yeah.
And so I did the whole house over, and at the same time, I did the yard. And I can keep up with the yard pretty much, but every time it rains, it just washes all my soil away and everything. I've gone to the highway department. Like I said, I haven't got anywhere with them, and from what I was told, I can't do anything because the town basically owns about 5 or 6 feet of the property. I can't put rocks there to try to slow it down or anything else without getting permission from the town. I would like to see if the highway department could do something, whether it be riprap, which is kind of the big rock that would at least slow the water down and not tear apart the front yard so much.
Well, why don't we see if the highway department can at least put it into call. If you want to leave your telephone number,
Well, why don't we have him just give it in our office, Madam Chair, so
Yeah.
it's not broadcast
that's what
on-
he's doing.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
If you want to go to my office, the Selectmen's office down the hall, and give the secretary your information,
Oh, all right.
we'll be sure to get in touch with the appropriate people and get
Very
back to
good.
you on the timetable.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you
Thank
all.
you, sir.
Thank you.
We have no public hearings tonight. New business? Any new business? We want to set the town meeting date.
I would, I guess there's been some conversations and in coordinating with our department heads, it looks like November 19th is the date we've all settled on, so if the board's still okay with that, I would motion to set the town meeting for November 19th at 7 PM at the middle school, and that would also cause us to close the warrant by October 22nd.
I second that motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Unanimous. Okay. Completion of old business. We have a discussion of the proposed dog park.
Good evening.
Hi, Tim.
How are you today?
I am well, and you?
Good. Joe?
Tim?
Miss Riley, how are you?
Fine, thank you, and congratulations on your new position.
Oh, thank you very much. It's nice to be able to come home.
It's great.
I did make a couple of copies with a few things that we've been thinking. Is it okay if I bring it up to you?
Please.
Thank you.
Thanks.
I just created a basic design of what we possibly could be thinking for the dog park on there, and also on the second sheet, just basically where we'd be looking over by Rainham Middle. We'd be looking to put the dog park between the sewer department and where the retaining basin is over there, in that area.
So you penned it in, Tim?
Yes, I just penned it in, yes. Trust me, I am the last person you want doing,
It's a good square, Tim, it's a good square.
yeah. Our meeting never really came together, so.
Can identify with that.
Madam Chair, can I ask him a question?
If you'd like to ask him a question, go ahead.
What are the dimensions on,
Again, it all's gonna be depending on how big of a size that we get. You know, if we have a parcel of land of an acre, so to speak, you know, dimensions, off the top of my head, it's roughly about 17,000 square feet for 1 acre, so I would have to do the exact math off the top of my, don't have it top of my head, but I will get you that information. And basically, you've noticed on there, we put pea stone, that's one of the ideas on there. And the reason is, if you go with grass, if you go with mulch, anytime a dog goes to the bathroom, urinates, things like that, it becomes a mess and it becomes mud. The positives of pea stone is it can be washed down, and that's one of the things we'd be looking at. The city of New Bedford actually has pea stone set up where there's a sprinkler system set up underneath, and every night the sprinklers go off and it washes down the pea stone, so it's clean every day. And the goal that we're thinking is, the first step is, one, getting the land. I can't do anything on my end until we have, if the land is donated and approved. The goal is we're gonna start going through the Stanton Foundation, who've done a wonderful job. I met with the director down in New Bedford. Told me they were a pleasure to work with, and it'll be a positive thing for the town, we believe.
Want to start?
I have no questions. I just want to thank you, Tim, for jumping right in. I think the day after you were hired, we had a conversation about this, and appreciate the effort you've put forward so far. As you know, I've been trying to work on this for a couple of years, and also thanks to Chris and the other commissioners for their support of it and moving it off my plate to your plate. Because while I think it's a great idea, the planning already that you've all put into it is tremendous, and I personally, and I know a lot of residents are also appreciative of it, so I just wanted to put that out there and say thank you to you, Chris, and your colleagues for your support of it.
Thank you very much.
Just a couple questions,
Sure.
Tim, and I apologize because I don't know a lot of the background about it.
No problem.
But have you approached the school district or the school committee to see if they have any security concerns being close to the school at all?
I have not yet. That's one of the next things on my agenda.
Okay, good.
One of the things that is a security purpose that, on our end, one would be to have a key fob for anybody entering into the park.
Okay.
So one, we'd have to work on something with the clerk's department. I've already spoke to them. Basically, it would have to show who's going into the park, showing all their dogs are licensed within the town and have all their vaccinations.
Okay.
So it's just for Rainham residents.
Okay. Right. And what about the maintenance? Have we given any thought to that? Would that come through the Park and Recreation Department?
The things that... with this-
Ongoing maintenance?
Yep. The thing with that is, a lot of times with these dog parks, they have Friends of Dog Park committees. And these Friends of Dog Parks are the ones that are responsible for maintaining the parks. It's worked in Falmouth, where I was before I came here, and that's what they're doing right now in New Bedford. But they are raising funds, so they do have funds to help pay for the maintenance cost would have to be done.
So you have checked with some other dog parks to see any issues they have, how they've addressed them and so forth?
I have, yes, yes. And the biggest thing with any dog park is any owner that brings their dog in,
Yeah.
the first sign of any aggression, their job is to put the dog right back on the leash and remove them from the park instantly.
Okay.
And that will be one of the things that'll be number one on the list of rules that'll be posted outside the dog park.
Tim, maybe for the benefit of my colleagues too, you could speak to how popular these are across the state now. I think Worcester has like 3 or 4 of them, New Bedford, Falmouth. A lot of towns are starting to go this way too.
It is a very popular thing that is popping up around. The Stanton Foundation, as I mentioned, is one of the biggest endowment funds out there right now doing these dog parks. I know West Bridgewater has been going back and forth. Right now, that's on hold, but Fall River's looking at doing one. But it's grown by leaps and bounds. It gives a chance for families, for community involvement to get together and share common interests. It'd be a good way for the people of Rainham, the community of Rainham, to really have a lot of say and community involvement with the park.
Now, is 1 acre eventually you're thinking of, or you're thinking of expanding it from that?
I would say right now, 1 acre would be plenty big enough for the town of Rainham.
Yeah.
You know, it would have to have a fence around it. I would recommend at minimum 5 feet fence up to 6. New Bedford had approximately 6 feet when I was down there. It's a good way to keep people from trying to reach up and drop their dog over without, doing the safe thing. So it is a safe thing to do. And also, you're gonna need an area for some sort of parking for the people coming in for the dog park.
Yeah, where would the parking be? Have we thought to that, or the?
I was actually out there yesterday again, and I'm thinking the parking will be right as you come off the road when you kind of bear off going towards the sewer department. Right in that area there's, I'd say a good 50 feet of frontage before you hit the tree line, and do the parking right there.
I know 1 acre is not a lot.
No, it's
We do
not.
have a large tract of land there, but at some point, we may have some municipal uses for that. I think
Mm-hmm.
before too long, we're probably going to need either an expansion on the Rainham Middle School and/or a new elementary school.
Mm-hmm.
But there is a large parcel, so as long as the concept is 1 acre and not, a lot more than that,
Much more bigger than that would be just too much.
Sure.
And I can tell you, New Bedford, for the size compared to Rainham, theirs is 1 acre in size.
Okay.
And for them, that's plenty big enough.
Well, I have a tremendous amount of concern.
Okay.
Number one, from what I read in the newspaper, it's practically a done deal. Mr. Pacheco, I made a copy of that because it was just a shock to me to see it all in the paper. You just mentioned something about signs. People will have to obey the signs. Right.
Yes, the rules.
You have people that don't obey the signs now, who openly admit they don't obey the signs. They walk their dogs by the school where the sign clearly says no dogs allowed, and yet they walk them there.
Mhm.
So how do you think you're going to control people from walking?
If I may.
Please come to the mic.
Chris Schock, Commissioner of Park and Recreation.
Yes, Chris.
If I may co-answer these questions
Sure.
with the director. That's a perfect example of a reason why we need a dog park. I think, speaking to some staff of the Park and Recreation management, highway department, the guys that are constantly on our fields, mowing, doing other construction projects, they spend a significant amount of their time kicking people off of the land. If we have an identified space, and again, as Tim has said, this is just the beginning of it. I think the article might have been misconstrued. Whoever the author of it was maybe misinformed by somebody else that's mentioned in that article, or possibly had the idea that this was a done deal. I think that the article wasn't written correctly. We're at the very beginning, Mrs. Smith, of this, and yes.
Just last week, when Mr. Pacheco mentioned this, we were talking about a trail. How did it get to be a park?
I think, and that wasn't a conversation between I had with Mr. Pacheco, but initially, what we had looked at is some land that's beyond that sewer department, which is real estate that we have now found out that possibly could be used for other purposes, expansions of the schools, et cetera. It's a giant piece of real estate. We don't need that. We need an acre or less. This is in a position between that permanent building, the sewer department, and a retention basin that's not beyond the rifle park.
I think you misunderstood what I was saying.
Okay, I'm
It
sorry.
started to be a trail.
Right, I think we
It turns out to be a park.
Right, initially, we wanted to fence off an area and have a dog trail. But as we did our research, and that wasn't a popular item. There was very few areas that had dog trails. We have the forest off of Locust Street, where it's not marked no dogs allowed, that people, I walk my own dog down. I'm a new dog owner, I just got a dog a couple of years ago when my kids left. I am now understanding the need and want for a park like this. I can let my dog out. I spent a significant amount of money to put my dog into the backyard with a fence around it so we'd have an area to run. It's not the same thing. Bringing your dog to a dog park, you have an opportunity for the dog to interact with other dogs. And doing that, especially at a young age with a dog, you're allowing the dog to become socially active with other animals and other people, which would reduce any type of event where a dog would be at the town highway department on Saturday emptying the trash, with his head poked out the window, somebody coming by and him yapping at him. It's just a social environment for the dog to get to know other dogs and allow them to play. Yeah, you can bring them to areas where you can pay for them to interact with other dogs, but having a dog park will allow people like myself to bring my dog down there and allow him to recreate with other animals. It's silly and goofy when you think about it that way, but it's going to serve a large portion of our communities. I don't have the amount of registered.
There's approximately 700 dogs registered in town.
So that's probably 25% of how many dogs we actually have. So, I really do think, I think it's a necessity. I think
I think that's stretching it.
I think it's attractive for the town. I've taken my dog all the way up to Randolph to go to their dog park. I'll retract that statement. It's not a necessity. I think it would be an absolute amenity for dog owners, but it would be an attraction for other people who own dogs in town.
Okay, so
it's
now,
not a parcel of land that's going to.
so it's a parcel of land that's across from the sewer.
Between the sewer and the retention basin. Right off of that access road, right before you.
Right.
Yeah.
Did you realize, of course, the gun club is still up there?
Yes, but I've checked, just real quickly, their fire, I forget the name of the acronym, but the danger zone for ricochets or off of their backstops
Okay.
is not in that area. That is a little bit deeper down that access road.
Madam Chair, if I might. Thank you. Just a couple things. The article you're referencing, I don't believe it was me who said it was a done deal.
I didn't say.
Okay,
It
I-
appears to be.
Yes, well, that
I
was.
didn't say you said it.
Okay,
I said.
I just
it
want to
appears
clarify,
be.
though.
What you did say that bothers me, though, sir, if I may
Please.
interject a comment to you, because I'm, got to ask you.
Yeah.
When did we have a quorum?
A forum?
A forum.
Well, I hosted the forum, Madam Chair, and that's what the article says, which was my prerogative a couple years ago, and there was an article on it back in 2016. I had about 60 people present here in this meeting room, where it was open to the public to go.
Never heard about it.
Yeah, well, I know former Selectman Donahue was in attendance as well, so it was pretty widely publicized on my Facebook page and my website that I pay
Right.
for.
I'm not on your Facebook page.
You should get on it, Madam Chair.
No, thank you,
Okay.
Joseph. No,
but- so
not interested.
If I can continue, though, I've been working on it, and my support is not hidden. I think it's good. And I think the one thing we lose sight of sometimes is what we need to do planning moving forward. I'm a rare segment of the population in Rainham now. I'm fourth generation, which I don't think anybody in this room can say, but I'm also under 50. And most of my peers have moved away. And one of the reasons why they move away is there's not these types of amenities here to keep them. It's not just about the dogs being able to socialize, it's about the adults being able to socialize too. And we do such great work in so many areas of the community, but we don't do enough of these active adult recreational type of things, and this is one of them. When I ran for Park and Rec back in 2005, and I remember it, my slogan then, and it still should be now, is recreation is a lifelong lifestyle. And this is something that moves us in that direction. It's not a lot of money. This is not going to cost a lot of money. We're asking for 10 grand. Park and Rec is going to submit for a grant, which has been very generous to other communities across the Commonwealth. I think some places got $250,000. There's a foundation just for dog parks. I see absolutely no disadvantage to doing this. I only see advantages, and anything we can do to make our town more of a community, I think we should do. And anything we can do to diversify our population, I think we should do, especially if private foundations want to pick up a significant portion of the tab. And I'm all for preserving and making sure we have the ability to expand our schools, but taking 1 acre off of 44 acres, to me, and I know you weren't saying this, Ms. Riley, but I just want to state it, is not significant. We are never going to build a school big enough to inhabit 44 acres of land. There, to me, is absolutely no downside to this whatsoever. And I didn't want to say a lot at the beginning because I didn't want to step on Commissioner Shaw and Tim's toes, because this is becoming their baby, and I am very grateful for that because it was something that I supported, but I never felt like I should be pushing because it's in Park and Rec's jurisdiction, and now they've, again, been gracious enough to take it over. But I think it's a great proposal, and I just cannot think of one reasonable reason why we don't wholeheartedly and fully support this. I just can't.
You done?
I am, Madam Chair. Thank you for indulging me.
Good Lord, God, you'd think he was running for election.
Mrs. Smith, if I could just a couple comments.
Oh, sure, go ahead.
When you say the 1 acre, Joe, as far as other use, I'm not concerned. It's just that, again, in the article, it seemed as though the grant funding we can achieve will depend on how large we make this. So I just wanted to make sure that it's not going to interfere with other uses that we might need in the future. So that's just the other concern. But another thing comes to mind, and maybe you've already seen by looking into other dog parks how this is addressed. But if you had a dog that happens to, unfortunately, bite another dog or a person, does the town become liable, or is there something that you do to cover the town for that?
Other towns, what I've seen, I was reading about today as well, this is one I got from Falmouth, is the dog owner is responsible for their dog's actions.
So they're still, the dog is still under their control, even though if they're not on a leash?
That is correct, yes. And it's the dog owner's responsibility to watch their dog. They're not allowed to leave and just keep the dog in the park. They have to be in there the entire time the dog is there. And before they leave, the dog has to go on a leash as they walk out the park.
Tim, I would think it would be similar to a dog on any other public piece of property.
Yes, leash laws in town, you have to follow those. And once, the way the design would have to be is, the dog would have to be on the leash and going through that first gate with the key fob. And before they go into their section, whether it's the small dog section or the big dog section or all dog sections, what some towns call it, that is when the leash has to come off. But as soon as any type of aggression, that owner has to go over there, put that leash on instantly, and get that dog out of there. The dogs have to wear collars while they're inside the park. They cannot take the collar off. So as soon as that dog something happens, the owner goes right over, puts that leash on, and pulls the dog out of there.
Do we need to have
Sounds good.
someone there to monitor it? I'm sorry, Mrs.
That's
I'm sorry?
Do we need to have someone there who's monitoring it while it's open, or?
No, that's more on the families that are there.
Okay.
And it's the job of other people in the park. If somebody, say, left, it's their job to call either my department, the police department, report that there's a dog in the dog park that is not there's no owner there, no supervision. That's where we would have to take over.
Let me just add one thing. As Tim had said earlier, the grant requires community involvement beyond government, okay? So there has to be a nonprofit established that's gonna oversee this dog park. Not for, it could be for maintenance and other things, but they need to establish, the rules and regulations, and they're gonna govern the park. Even though it's gonna be under Park and Rec umbrella, there's gonna be that committee that is established that is responsible for a lot of what we're talking about tonight. At no expense to the town. These are people that obviously love dogs and I think there's a woman that's mentioned in the article that brought this to your attention 2 years ago. Those are the type of people that we're going to need, and it is a requirement.
And I believe she's actually raised some money already, Commissioner.
Very good.
Thank you.
Well, I'm still not 100% sold, only because of, number one, the safety issues, the liability issues. You got fencing, big deal. I've had dogs that have jumped over everything. I'm not convinced. And I'm not convinced that even if it be under a supervision of a group of people, that they're even going to keep it clean. I see people walking up and down my street all the time. I never see a paper bag. All I see is people walking. And I don't mind them walking there, but they do walk. And I never see a paper bag. It's going to be no different there. And who's going to clean it? Like Tim says, all right, you can clean the urine pot, but who's going to pick up the defecation?
That is, again, where, as we mentioned earlier, that's where the Friends of Dog Park, whatever the town would call
Yeah, you
it.
think so. That's not going to happen, pal. I'll tell you right now, that's not going to happen.
We're confident. We're confident.
Good.
We got to remain optimistic. Another thing is, as far as the excrement and, the dog parks I've been to, yes, on occasion, there has been some excrement that's been left behind. That's the stuff we want to get off the baseball field, the soccer field, the football fields. These dog owners that don't have a place to bring their dogs, that's where they bring them. And they off-leash them, and they run around, and they do their business, and they don't pick it up.
And you have signs all around that says no dogs, don't you?
Right, and it's going to happen, Mrs. Smith, it's going to happen, but this is going to reduce that. It's going to reduce it.
Okay.
Madam Chair, I think Mr. John Kane.
Yes, John has a comment to make. Please, John, microphone.
Sorry, sir.
Guys. John Gokorogan, 83 Broadway. As a pet lover for many years and a dog owner for over 18 years, I don't have it anymore, he passed away. And as an individual who actually helped develop policies and procedures for the hospitality industry when it comes to pets visiting properties, I appreciate the effort of these two gentlemen introducing something that is commonly acceptable and well taken in other communities. However, Raynham is not another community. Could be special, could be with special requirements. I hear the speech trying to sell it to the Selectmen, but I didn't hear anything about how the dog owners were approached. We have to sell the idea to the dog owners, somebody who would like to go there. Personally, I'm not somebody who would always appreciate taking my dog where all the other dogs are together for safety reasons, for health reasons. Everybody says that my dog is this and that, but always there are issues. And also, what will be the alternative? A place where the dog can run and walk along with the owners, it's more appealing to me, but that's me. The park is good as long as some procedures are in place. I like the idea overall as a citizen. I don't think it's well organized. Some more data and specifics needs to be on the table. And I support the whole concept, but Raynham is not West Bridgewater, is not Falmouth. The other thing I don't hear about is any percentage of who is going to utilize it. If we have 100 dogs registered, are those 100 owners, all of them buy the idea, all of them are willing and capable of taking their dogs on daily basis or whatever time they need to take it to the park? And the other thing is, there are options and ideas of who is going to clean the place. Owners themselves, if they really love the idea, they might contribute something or they donate their time. I also heard something about the fob. Is it going to cost anything to the dog owners? Are they going to pay an extra fee for that to be able to participate in that area? Why? We already pay a fee. And again, something that I don't see it is very well organized yet, but I do support the idea. It is something that people, they would like to have, but also without creating a burden for them to use it. And dogs are not all of them all the same. Some are very docile, some can be very aggressive. That goes along with who their owners are and what they think of their pets and themselves. And it's nice to try to talk about how nice it is, but we have to think from the pets side of it. Is it really enclosure something that is always good for them? I have quite an experience with it. I'm not sure that you guys have access to it yet. So the pets are not humans, and an enclosed environment is not always the best recommended. It is good for a community standpoint to have something that is controlled and we have access to it and everything, but now we're already talking about issues. We have to talk about the animals first if we are thinking of we want to do it for them. But that's my opinion. I have support on that side. So, as I said, I support anything that has to do for Raynham and what is good for the citizens. But this particular idea requires a little bit more investigation, or at least more data on the table. Right now, it's a lot of hearsay. I wish I knew about this. I will bring my data, which I spend a lot of time for multi-billion-dollar companies to adopt for their properties because they have constant influx of people with dogs with them. So I'm sure you understand how important that fact is for them. And some of those can be applicable to Raynham. I'm here also to say that I'm more than willing to extend my knowledge and expertise, or perhaps documentation I have to these gentlemen, because I do think that they're doing a good job conceptually, but we need to be a little bit more organized and when it comes to rules and regulations. I'm not talking about the land, I'm not talking about the size. That's something that I'm not aware of it, but I'm sure they have full support. But when it comes to the animals and what the residents would need to help themselves and their pets, then I think I can provide more help. That's all I need to say.
Thank you very much. Couple of questions that I have, Tim. Are these going to be specified hours? In other words, is it going to close at a certain time, or is it going to be open 24/7, or what?
There would be specified posted hours. I would recommend,
Excuse me.
this is just a rough estimate off the top of my head, just saying right now, I would say anytime around 7:30, 8 o'clock in the morning till about a half hour before dusk. So everything has to be cleared out before that time, and then we could have an automatic timer set that nobody can get into the park through the key fob after that particular time.
After a certain time.
Yes.
I'm still concerned about the cleanliness, and I'm still concerned about the safety, public safety.
Mhm.
There's going to be a lot of people that will be walking there that you don't know who they are.
Mhm.
You don't know where they came from. And that is one of my concerns.
I understand.
Safety, cleanliness. It's going to have a fence around it. Yep, okay, that might stop the little ones, but the big ones are going to go right over it.
I will tell you again from the experience that I've seen down in where I did come from, because I did
Yeah, I know,
check,
Falmouth.
and again, also from when I had a chance to tour the park in New Bedford, they both have good community involvement with their groups. I can tell you from going back to Falmouth, their group met once a month in our building at the Gus Candy Center. It's again, as Chris said, a great way for community involvement for people to get together.
And I'm all for community involvement, and I had no problem with doing anything for the younger generation when I feel as though it's the proper thing to do.
Mhm.
I still, like I said, I have concerns, and those concerns are public safety and the liability and the maintenance, the cleanliness.
Mhm.
Because liability, I don't care what dog owner has their dog, that dog is going to bite another dog for some reason or another. He doesn't like his looks or whatever. I've had dogs all my life. I've raised dogs for many, many years.
Mhm.
And no two dogs are alike.
Very true. I've had dogs all my
And
life as well.
some will like another dog, and some won't. My dogs never liked little dogs.
And that's one of the
I could never let them be near a little dog. That same thing is going to happen there. And you know what? When the suit comes, it's not going to go to Park and Rec. It's going to come to the town of Rainham. And I don't care how much you say that the person has the onus on it. The suit's going to come to the town of Rainham. I'm not going to fight you.
I just want to say something that I think will satisfy both parties. I'm more than willing to work with you guys to put something together that will satisfy Ms. Smith, because I can see her points. She's absolutely right. But at the same time, to have a better concept, a better idea down on black and white that will make absolutely sense both for the good of the dog owners and what you're trying to accomplish. I'm not trying to take anything away from you, but at the same time, I know her position very well. I've been there, and I can see the concern, but I think there's a bridge. We can make that happen in a way that is very responsible and as well as rewarding for the community, both from Rainham side of standpoint as well as the dog owners. This is my proposal.
Thank you, John. You ought to take advantage of his expertise, because he is an expert in many fields, especially in management and whatever. Do you have any more questions?
No, I would just probably suggest, Tim, that before it goes to town meeting, that you do check with the school district, just so that you can satisfy any concerns that they have, and also maybe with the police department too, just so that you'll have all that information before you get to town meeting.
Yep.
And if you come up with any kind of rules, regulations, or anything of that nature, I'd like to have them.
Absolutely.
Good.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you very much for coming in. Town Administrator, do you want to give me a report? Or-
Thank you, Madam Chair. The North School has been thoroughly cleaned, and I spoke with the painter. He had some issues with the basement floor, the filling in of the cracks, but that's going to be resolved, and he'll be able to do his painting of that and also the ceilings as well, and make sure everything gets cleaned up after that as well. The Capital Planning Committee met just prior to this meeting to finalize recommendations, and there will be a brief meeting with the Board of Selectmen next week. Special town meeting has been scheduled for November 19th, 2018. And a reminder, the Historical Commission needs 2 members. Contact Ms. Riley or the Selectman's office for details. Next Selectmen's meeting will be a week from tonight, October 2nd at 7 p.m. Next department head meeting will be October 18th at 9:30. Next Southeastern Mass Health Group meeting will be October 11th at Seekonk, and the next Sursage meeting will be October 3rd at 9 a.m. in Mansfield.
Any questions?
Just if I could add too, I think our Council on Aging is looking for a couple of associate members too.
Okay.
And our Rainham Food Basket is looking for a new director. It's one of those wonderful volunteer jobs that involve a lot of work, for a lot of gratitude. And so if maybe we could try to promote that as well, that would be great. Dave, thank you.
I believe Council on Aging, I think they have associate members that will move up, but she'll have to send us a list of who it is. But when I was over there yesterday and talking to her about that. Okay, Selectmen's report, anything?
Just one thing, Madam Chair. I had a few residents reach out to me about White Street recently, and I think there's been some miscommunication as to the status of it. The complete street will not be finished till next summer, which means the top coat. It does not mean the existing condition as is now is not going to be changed till next summer. And the highway superintendent and I had a long conversation about that today. In the coming weeks, they plan on further remediating some of the manhole covers and the height in anticipation of the summer and plow season. There's also supposed to be construction started on the sidewalk. That was supposed to have already started. It didn't yet because of the contractor scheduling. But there's going to be additional improvements and repairs done this season, and then the complete street will be finished with the top coat. And next summer, which is consistent with what we've always done in the past, because it's not sound business practice to put the top and final coat on months after you do the undercoat, because the road can sink a little bit and have some give to it. And so this allows it to settle properly before the top coat goes on. So it's just important to get that information out there to people, because again, I think some people got hung up on the fact that the original wording was that the road would not be finished till next summer. Well, that's correct, but you have to put it in context. So I just wanted to be able to provide that context. And that's all I have, Madam Chair.
Pat, do you have anything?
No, I'm good, thank you.
The only thing I have is that remember the early voting, what we talked about before? Well, that's going to be from October 22nd to November 4th. The Selectmen's meetings, October 23rd and October 30th, will be held at South School. And if there's any other board that has meetings within that period of time, David, would you reach out to them, please, and tell them if they're going to have their meeting, if they want to do it at South School, and then just let Mike Halen know so that he can make arrangements for them. Other than that, that's it. Correspondence is very light this evening. We have a letter from the Bridgewater-Rainham Regional School District stating that their school budget subcommittee will begin its preparation of the fiscal year 20 budget process on October 17th. And the Bridgewater Finance Committee is invited to attend the October meeting, along with the Rainham Finance Committee. And the meeting will be held in the Superintendent's Conference Room located at 166 Mount Prospect Street in Bridgewater at 6:30 p.m. If you have any questions, contact Superintendent Swenson. And if you have any comments you want to make, you can go to the meeting. I have a letter from Michael King, which says, I would like to inform the board that Patricia Ellis has achieved the distinction of becoming a certified Massachusetts Municipal Assistant Collector. This certification was bestowed upon her by the Massachusetts Collector Treasurer Association after Ms. Ellis completed 3 years of specialized courses and passed a rigorous exam. I hope that the board will join in congratulating Mrs. Ellis on her accomplishment. Thank you for your continued support and encouragement for the professional development endeavors of town employees. Congratulations.
Madam Chair, motion to send a note of congratulations to Patty on that.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
We have one tag day from the Taunton Popwater football for October 8, 15, and 19.
Motion to approve?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
No press time, emergency business,
None.
none? Okay. I'll accept a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn and sign the bills and warrants with no further action.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.